What are administrators looking for when hiring new teachers? In this video, I will be giving you some great advice on how to stand out on your virtual or in-person interview to be a teacher. Stick around for the end of the video when I address the questions you should be asking in your interview. Hello everyone! Welcome to Learning with Law. My channel is all about learning both inside and outside the classroom. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and ring that bell icon so you'll be noted every time I release a new video. If you want more content like this or are enjoying this video, please smash that like button. So as a dual certified English and special education teacher over the past 12 years, I've seen many sides of the education system. I've worked in many schools. I've interacted with a variety of colleagues and administrators. I definitely know what they're looking for when hiring a new teacher to their schools. Here are some current hot topics that will definitely be addressed in your interview. You'll want to make sure that you're able to answer questions regarding these topics in order for you to stand out. So the first topic I'm going to talk about is diverse learners. More and more students are getting diagnosed, getting IEPs, 504s, behavior plans, you name it, they're doing it. So there's going to be a question on how you're going to be interacting with these students, how you're going to be implementing their accommodations and their modifications. And these are some definite concerns that people have regarding this topic of diverse learners. So what can you do in your classroom to ensure that you're supporting these students? How are you changing your style of teaching in order to accommodate all students in your classroom? So questions like that are definitely something that I think, and questions that I've actually been asked by numerous administrators. And they're going to be asking you what you can do to bridge the gap really with these students. What has been happening over the past year? Integration of technology in your classroom is another hot topic that will definitely be addressed in your interview. So if the year 2020 has taught us anything, it's that technology is the new wave of the future. So administrators are definitely going to ask you about your experience with technology and what you can really bring to the table regarding the idea of technology in education. And even if they don't bring this question up, which I highly doubt, this is your chance to take the initiative and talk about technology, because now more and more school districts are getting on board with different types of technology. Some questions that you might hear are, what are some programs that you've used or you will use to ensure that virtual students are succeeding? What strategies have you used to keep your virtual students engaged? What experience do you have using Nearpod, Padlet, Google Meet, etc., etc.? And if you're a brand new teacher, just think about and maybe do some research on just a few of the things that I mentioned and technology that can be used in the classroom, because this is definitely something that school districts are going to be using here on out. And even if you're an English teacher, from a gym teacher to an art teacher, they're still going to bring up the topic of technology. So make sure you're prepared. Another huge hot topic that I think has become something that all administrators are really looking for, whether it has to do with classroom management or just social emotional learning, is building rapport with your students. The role of a teacher has definitely been redefined over the past couple of years. Much focus has been put on social emotional learning and building rapport with students so that they feel safe and valued in school. So some questions that you might be asked: how have you incorporated social emotional learning into your classroom? Or how will you incorporate? How will you handle a disruptive student in your classroom? What is your policy on bullying? And how will you reinforce that policy within your classroom? Another hot topic: discipline. This will always be a topic from now until forever, as long as there are physical human beings interacting with physical human beings. Schools want to make sure that they have a productive work environment. They're mowing the lawn outside my window right now. Sorry for that. We want to make sure that students are working from bell to bell and receiving the best possible instruction. When is it necessary to get an administrator involved or a parent involved? What are some of your classroom management strategies? So anything revolving around discipline is definitely something that they will address in your interview. And I suggest you do some research to make sure that you can refer to someone and say, oh yes, I admire how this person conducts their classroom. And that's really going to let you stand out amongst all of the other candidates. Another hot topic is parent communication. Just about half the families in the United States have 2 working parents. So sometimes teachers see students more than their parent or guardian does. And administrators not only want to see parent involvement, but they want to see what you will do in a situation where there are parents that are working long hours and are absent from their child's learning. I've actually been interviewed by a committee of people and a parent was on the panel. So there's 2 sides of the coin. You have the very involved parent, and then you have the working parents that have a lot of things to juggle on their plate. So how are you going to balance the 2, and what are you going to do to make sure that you're reaching both types of parents? So some questions that they might ask you are, how will you establish communication and involvement with your parents? When do you contact a parent regarding a discipline issue or an academic issue? How do you deal with difficult parents? Now, when I say parents, I mean parent or guardian. So the next hot topic that will definitely be something that you will see in your interview is differentiating your lessons for your English language learners. And we call them ELLs, E-L-L. Depending on where you're located in the country, the types of questions regarding ELLs will differ. It's always good to be prepared regardless of your location. Questions that you might see are, how are you differentiating your lessons in order to support ELLs? What strategies are you using to help your ELLs succeed in your classroom? And when you do research on this topic, you'll see that there is a huge overlap between the special education strategies and the ELL strategies that you can use in your classroom. I'll give you an example. So I work in Florida and I have some students in my classroom that do not speak English, or they are very, very limited in the language that they speak and understand. So they're using Google Translate a lot in my classroom. So I would talk about the strategies that I use in order to help these students succeed. Maybe it's giving them a Translate dictionary. Maybe it's giving them an extra word bank on an assessment. Maybe it's to use more pictures and graphics when giving them a text. So it just depends on the level of ELLs that you have in your classroom. So having these strategies at your disposal is really going to give you a leg up in your interview. You want to make sure that you have proven techniques, so make sure you're prepared for that type of question. Now let's look at state testing and assessments. This is another big hot topic. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot. This is another hot topic. They're all hot topics. Administrators, whether they say it or not, are very focused on data. They want to make sure that their graduation rates are high in order to receive state funding. They want to make sure their numbers are exactly where they need to be. There will definitely be a question on data. What will you do in order to ensure student success on assessments? That seems like a loaded question, and it seems like you can kind of talk about anything here. And if you have teaching experience, you can talk about the specific lesson, referring to data that you've collected and then used throughout the rest of the year to drive your instruction. This is a perfect opportunity to do that. And another one is, what test-taking strategies are you incorporating into your lessons? You want to make sure that you're going in with a plethora of things to talk about as far as testing. And another hot topic is reading strategies. Literacy is being incorporated into every subject now, even gym, even math. We're talking about literacy. We really need to focus on this. According to the U.S. Department of Education, 54% of U.S. adults ages 16 to 74, which is about 130 million people, lack proficiency in literacy, reading below the equivalent of a 6th grade reading level. So what does this mean for you? That means that you bet your bottom dollar you're going to be asked a question about literacy and reading strategies in your interview. Some questions that you might be asked. What reading strategies will you implement in your classroom in order to increase the reading levels of your students? How will you use data to enhance literacy in your classroom? How do you deal with reluctant readers? How will you incorporate literacy into your lessons? And that goes for people that teach math, phys ed, any other elective courses, art. How are you going to incorporate that into your classroom? Because I have spoken to a couple of phys ed teachers that have been asked that exact question. So you want to make sure that even if you're a phys ed teacher and you're like, this doesn't really apply to me at all, it may. And I remember when I was in school, I refuse to tell you when that was,
but we were receiving gym essays and tests. And I was like, aren't we just supposed to run around and kick a soccer ball around? No, now phys ed classes are requiring that you take assessments and complete some writing. And this is all because we want to increase the literacy of our country. All right, now you came up to the part of the interview where they say, do you have any questions for us? And yes, you do. Never say no, especially if you want to stand out amongst all the candidates that want a job. You want to stand out, you want to shine. So I'm giving you a suggested list of 8 questions that you could potentially ask your employer. This is why I say you should be doing, and I've mentioned this in my other video, do your research. I'll link the video here. It tells you how to get certified to teach in Florida and how to find a job fast. I explained this a little bit more in that video. All employers will ask this question. You want to make sure that you are looking into this particular school or district that you're applying to. Don't go in blind, not knowing anything about the school. You can tailor these 8 questions depending on what you find in your research to kind of fit the school that you're applying to. Administrators want to see your interest in the school. So some of the questions could look like this. How often do you offer professional development for teachers? Do you have any vacancies for club moderators or sports coaches? What's your favorite thing about working here? I asked that to a couple of different principals when I was applying, and they were kind of taken back by it, but it grabbed their attention, that's for sure. And I just loved hearing what they had to say. Because when they talk about their favorite thing or what they're most proud of in their school, they light up a little bit and it kind of brightens their day. And you know, educators were very stressed and this could help them refocus on their day too and leave the interview feeling kind of happy and invigorated. It's definitely going to make you stand out and it might just brighten their day. What are the class sizes? Something else that's important because it varies from subject to subject sometimes. Some schools might say all of the 4 core classes have a cap of 25, but electives might not have a cap. So this is something that you want to look into. How often do you conduct safety drills like fire drills, lockdown drills, lock-in drills, lockout, they call them a million different things now. But you want to feel safe in the building that you're working in. This is definitely a question I asked when I was moving down to Florida and getting a job. I asked the administrators, you know, how often do you do your safety drills and what are the procedures you have in place? And they were also taken back by that question. They're like, wow, we've never heard that before, but that's a great question. So yes, use it. The next question is, what is the school culture like? So this can apply to teachers. This can apply to students. What does the school culture look like? Does everybody show up to the football game on Friday nights? Or are they more of a musical school or theater? You want to see what the culture is like. How often are teachers given time to collaborate with their colleagues? So do they have planning periods set aside together? Are there specific professional development days that they're given? This shows that you are a team player and you have interest in collaborating with your peers. What makes your school different than other schools, either in the district, the county, or what sets you apart from other schools? So again, these questions can be tailored depending on the research that you've done regarding your school. Just know that if they talk about the school culture on the website, maybe that's not a question you want to ask because you already know what the school culture is like, but you can use that information into your question. Like, I know that this is a really big basketball focused school. So what do you guys have pep rallies? What does this look like? Questions like that. Because when they see that you know already some information about their school, even though you didn't attend that school, that to them says, wow, this person is clearly interested in this job.
Every teacher I've ever spoken to has been inspired by another teacher. Comment below with a teacher who inspired you and why. I truly hope that you learned valuable information that will help you find your dream teaching job. If you did, please click that like button in order to help other people find my video. And you'll also be helping my channel. If you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel and ring that bell icon so you're updated every time I release a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Happy teaching.